Hello, and welcome to my YouTube channel. This is Jinjo Stitches. My name is Shannon, and this is my very first FlossTube video ever. It's very exciting. So I'll just introduce myself because it is my very first FlossTube video. Like I said, my name is Shannon. I'm 25 years old, and if you couldn't tell from the accent already, I am from Australia. So I'm from Victoria, which is the southern part of Australia, and it's very cold here right now. I have a week off work and I figured why not start a FlossTube channel so I can stay in and still feel like I'm doing something a little bit productive. So that's what I'm doing this week. So it's been a lot of fun for me so far, just learning to use all of the programs, OBS, how to film, edit, that kind of thing. And hopefully this is the take that makes it to YouTube. I've tried this maybe 3 or 4 times already. And wasn't happy with all of them for one reason or another, so fingers crossed this is it. This is the one that you see. Alright, I've been watching FlossTube for quite a while now. I really like Michelle Bendy Stitchy. I like the format that she uses and the way her videos sort of flow with all of her, fully finishes, whips, finishes, future plans, that kind of thing. I'm going to try and follow like a really loose, similar structure to that. But we'll see how we go. I also have 3 pets, which I feel like everyone always wants to see. So I've got 2 cats. One of them is the namesake of the channel, Jinjo. Here they are. So that's Mifa on the right and Mifa on the left, Jinjo on the right. And they are sisters. And then I also have a dog, and his name is Ziggy, and he is an Italian Greyhound. So anyone who watches Fox and Rabbit knows what an Italian Greyhound looks like. He is my little boy. Alright, and without further ado, I guess we'll just get right into the stitching. Alright, these are going to be in as best I can order of date started, oldest to newest, but some of them I don't have exact dates for. I wasn't exactly logging everything when I first started cross stitching, so I've just done the best I can. Alright, so this is my oldest whip of them all, and this one's a little bit interesting because I've actually not put a single stitch in this. So this whip came from my mum, and I've got a picture of it finished here. This is... Do I have a picture of it? There it is. There we go. So this is Peter Rabbit's Storybook Sampler, and this is the whip, there we go, that I have. Oh, let me take that down. There we go. This is my whip. So, as I said, my mum started this one 20 odd years ago, and she started it for my aunt who was pregnant with my cousins, and she's done it on this huge, it's an absolutely massive piece of Aida. It's double that, like so long, because my cousins are actually twins, and my mum had plans to stitch this whole thing twice, and so she bought enough fabric to stitch the whole thing twice, and this was her very first cross stitch project, so I'm not surprised that she didn't finish it. So I've not put a single stitch in that, but it is my oldest whip. I've promised her that one day I will finish it and give it back to her, and she said please don't, I don't want it, but I'm still gonna do it anyway. Sorry mum. So that is my oldest one. Because it was a hand-me-down, I'm not really sure of the count of the fabric, although having a look, I would say it's 16 count Aida on sort of like a vintage white color, but I can't say for certain. Alright, my next oldest whip is one that I started in June of 2020. And a lot of you will probably have guessed what it is already just from that time frame, because this is Pandemic by Long Dog Samplers, and that is the chart just there. Gotta remember which side to point, just there. And it is beautiful. It is a giant, beautiful chart. I love it so much, and it's going to take me an absolute lifetime to finish, but I love it. And this is my start just here. So I've really not gotten very far on it. Get a bit closer. I've got a couple of the rabbits and a bit of the border, and that's it. And I've actually gridded this whole piece of fabric for the first half, the bottom half. So you can see just how big it is, and then that repeats on this side. So it's twice that height. One day I will finish it, but it's going to take a long time. And this is on a 28 count even weave, 1/1, and I'm doing it entirely in DMC 3345, which is this dark green, which I really like. I just think it has a lot of shine to it. It's a really pretty floss. And you can see this one I've actually labeled with an I, if that will focus. You got it. Oh. And the rest of them are actually labeled with an L because I couldn't get enough floss in the first order that I made. So I had to order from 2 different stores. The L was for Lincraft, which is a brick and mortar retailer here in Australia, and the I is for Itchy Stitchy, which is an online retailer here in Australia. And I didn't want any dye lot issues between those 2 orders, so I labeled them before the second lot arrived. But thankfully they were all the same, so I have no issues there, because that would have been really annoying. All right, now the next, and that chart, I should say, I actually got that chart during the free period. So they released that chart for free in June of 2020, during the start of the COVID pandemic. And that's when I downloaded the chart, during that free week. And I'm not usually one for samplers, so that's why I actually started it, because it was free and I saw so many people starting it and I just really, really wanted to join in, which was exciting. It was nice to be part of that. Not that I finished it, and everyone else that I saw that started has. All right, so my next whip is, I don't have a picture of this one, but I do have the chart, because this one was actually a gift from a KK present, like Chris Kringle present. And this is the chart, which I've started highlighting, and it's me and my dog. So they got a photo of me turned into a pattern. They used someone on Etsy. They don't remember who they used, so I can't tell you, unfortunately. And this is my whip. Let's just take that off. So I'm actually really close to being done with this. All I need to do is fill in the scarf, which is just a solid color, and then backstitch the glasses and the text on the hat. And that's all I need to do. There's no reason this is not done. I just haven't gotten it done. So one day. That is on, I think, a piece of 16 count Aida, which is white. This piece was actually from an op shop here in Australia. That's what we call a thrift store here. It's an opportunity shop. And it's really soft. I actually really like it. I think the orange means it's Zweigart, but it's much softer than most Zweigart that I've used before. So I'm not entirely sure of the count, but I think it's 16. And yeah, like I said, just from the op shop, I think it was in a kit, and I just cannibalized the fabric and the colors for what I wanted to use it for. All right. Now, my next whip, now these 3 were all sort of started around the same time as each other, and it was early 2021, but I don't know exactly when. This whip is an Animal Crossing stitch. So these are 2 of the animals you can catch in Animal Crossing, sturgeon and the centipede, and then there's space at the bottom for me to do 2 more. Now these patterns were actually posted for free on a Facebook group, an Animal Crossing Facebook group that I'm in, and they were just posted as pixel art, but a lot of people started to cross stitch them. So I did have to pick the colors myself, and this was a couple years ago, so I don't actually have the conversion, unfortunately. It wasn't something that I wrote down, but I just color matched as best I could with what I had. And the reason I stopped with this one is because you can actually see on the sturgeon, that top piece I actually backstitched in 2 strands, whereas this bottom bit I backstitched in 1. And I like the look of the 2 strands better. I don't like that you can see where my pin stitches are with 1 strand. So I will just need to rip that out and redo the back stitch in 2 strands, but that's why I've stopped, because I just can't be bothered ripping it out. But I will eventually. You'll hear me say that a million times. I'll get to it eventually. One day I'll get to it. All right. My next whip is by Make It Pink. And I don't have a picture, but I do have her website open. And it's this Princess Peach stained glass pattern just here. It's actually a free pattern and it is so, so pretty. So that's my next one. And this is my start. Not very far. A very small piece of fabric, but it will fit. So my issue with this one is that I actually started, this is on 32 count even weave. And when I measured my piece of fabric, I measured as though I was going to be stitching on 36 count even weave. So this piece of fabric is actually too small, but with the margins I included, I can get the stitch on. It's just going to be really tight to the edges. So what I actually did with this one is restarted it on a piece of 18 count Aida and finished it on a piece of 18 count Aida. So one day I will finish this piece on the 32 count even weave, but it's not a priority at all. I'll just be finishing it to get it out of the way because it is small. It's only a small piece, but it's really beautiful. It's got lots of fractional stitching and lots of back stitching, and it just ends up looking so nice. I absolutely love this piece. I really like Make It Pink patterns. I'll flip back. There's also a bunch of Zelda patterns on here as well, and Sailor Moon patterns too. So a lot of these are fancy lady patterns, but all sort of contemporary, which I absolutely love. And the ones that I really want to do are this Link and Zelda. The Zelda in particular, look how beautiful that is. So pretty. I love the colors that she's used, the detail that goes into them. Just beautiful. So one day I'll get to those. All right. And my next whip, let's have a look, is this one here, which was based on a pattern posted to Reddit, which I've had a look for because I wanted to link it, but I actually can't find the original post. So I saved the pattern, but I don't have the link to the post that originally posted it. And it was based on this piece of pixel art right here, which is from a cartoon called Over the Garden Wall, which is a really fun, like spooky cartoon. Me and my fiance rewatch it every Halloween. And this is my start. So my issue with this one, you'll notice that all of my whips that I haven't finished all have issues. This black at the top, this border and this tree branch, I started stitching with 2 strands. This is on 18 count white Aida, and I really didn't like the coverage at all. I could see so many gaps through the stitching, and for this piece it bothered me. Most pieces it wouldn't, but because this piece, it's so dark around the borders, I didn't want to be able to see any of the fabric poking through. So I actually frogged that, and you can see where I had stitched up to about here and frogged it all out, and this has been redone in 3 strands. And that's why I stopped, because I was looking at how much progress I'd made and it felt like no progress at all because I'd just ripped out that section. So, but because I watch this every Halloween with my fiance, I'll stitch on that again come Halloween. And the next piece is actually embroidery, so we're not even going to look at that one. We're going to move on. And that one was started around the same time as the rest, so early 2021. Yeah. All right. Our next piece is one that I started when my fiance and I moved into our new home, and that was mid to late 2021, I believe, maybe early 2022. And it is this little Kirby towel. So it's just a hand towel for like hanging in the bathroom. But I got these Kirby sprites from one of the old Kirby games, and he just sort of runs along and does a flip and a flourish. And I was just stitching that along the bottom. This is a towel with 14 count Aida as a band across the bottom. And I got this towel, and I actually got a few more from JK's Cross Stitch, who's an online retailer in Australia for everything cross stitch specifically. She carries the widest range that I have found, and she's also really easy to communicate with in terms of getting in any products that you want and anything like that. And in terms of the colors I use, unfortunately, again, I don't have a proper conversion for you. From what I can see, I use 761, DMC 761, which is this color here for the body. And for his shoes, this one actually doesn't have a number on it, but it's this hot pink. But it should be pretty easy to color match to Kirby. Any pink will do, really. All right. And the reason I stopped working on that one, the loose weave on the towel, it's 14 count, the Aida that's attached to the towel, but it's a really loose weave. And I have quite a strong tension on my stitches. I pull them quite tight, so really was struggle. It was a struggle for me to stitch on that. I just kept pulling it too tight and it would look gross. All right. This next start was from August 2021, and this is Dimensions Japanese Garden. Looks like this. You see it a lot. I think this is quite a popular kit. And from this point on, you'll see that I really got into the kits. All of the other WIPs were all mostly stuff that was sort of passed on to me or like free patterns I found on Reddit. But this one was one of the first kits that I ever bought. And I'm actually pretty far on this. This is my current WIP. So I would say I'm about a little over a quarter of the way done. You can see I've gridded the whole way through and I've actually hit the corner. This is the top corner and this is the bottom corner here. So you can see exactly how big it's going to be. So yeah, I would say I'm about a quarter of the way through. So much confetti in this. This is like the first page I've started. I've got a page finished on the bottom left page, and this page is okay. There are a lot of blends, but it's for the most part fine. And then you get up to this page, which is the next page I started working on, and there's so much confetti in this tree. It is absurd, the amount of confetti that goes into like this pink section here, and that sort of covers like this whole section and more on the other page as well. So it's a lot of confetti, but I will get back to it eventually. I've just put it away for now. This is usually what I'm working on, but I've just put it away so that I can work on something a bit simpler, that I don't have to think as hard about, because that much confetti, that many jumps, it's just too much. And obviously, as it is a kit, that's on the kit 16 count Sky Blue Aida, because I don't have a big fabric collection particularly. All right, and this next one is Dimensions Luke and Darth Vader. You'll see a lot of Dimensions kits. I like the Dimensions kits. Now, I'm not actually a huge Star Wars fan. I like it okay. But I'm stitching this one for my fiance, so there's a couple more Dimensions ones that I have, the Star Wars ones as well, and I'm planning on popping them above his desk when they're done. And this is my WIP. So I'm a decent way through. I've got most of the full stitches done, and it's mostly just half stitches left. However, you can see I didn't center this very well at all. So we've got this much space on this side, and I've still got to finish the R, which has the long tail. So I'm only going to have about this much space, I reckon, on this side. Which I'm really frustrated about, because obviously there's going to be 3 of these and I want them to all hang next to each other. So we'll give it a go, we'll finish it off, we'll finish another one, and we'll see how close in size I can get them to be, and if I can get them to be the same size. And if not, I might have to just repurchase and restitch this, because there's no way I'm pulling it all out and moving it over. I just can't be bothered. And I think on this black fabric as well, if I pulled out the text and moved it over, you'd be able to see the holes where it was stitched really easily, because it is black. But I really love the colors in this. It's so pretty. The pinks and the blues and the purples. There's a lot of blends again. It's Dimensions kit, so always lots of blends. Lots of back stitching and lots of French knots as well. So we'll see how we go with that. I'm not super keen on French knots. And for this one, this is the first Dimensions kit where I actually, they come, I don't know if you've seen them before, but Dimensions kits, all the flosses come on these long cardboard organizers, which are not very organized for me. And I have a problem with these because my cats actually chew them up. They don't eat the floss, they just chew up the cardboard. They like paper, they like cardboard. They've also chewed up the pattern for my Dimensions Japanese garden. So for this Star Wars project, I actually cut up the organizer. So it's got a little piece of foam in between two pieces of cardboard. So I just cut the whole thing and threaded them onto this loop. And that's made it so much easier to use. I can thread any extra pieces on there. So I've got like, you know, all of my odds and ends on there as well. It's been great. I'm going to do this to all of them now. Just had to get a big pair of scissors to cut through all the foam. So easy. So that is those two. All right. Next up, oh, and that's on 14 count Black Ada that came with the kit. I'm gonna forget to say the fabric like every time. Now, this next one is a controversial pattern for a couple of reasons. First one is that it's a Harry Potter pattern, and I probably wouldn't buy it now. I don't agree with J.K. Rowling, obviously, but I did buy it in the past. Because I already have it, I'm going to stitch it, but it's not something I would buy now. The other reason is that it's actually a stamped kit. So this is the Hogwarts crest. Now I did buy this from a big box store in Australia, so from what I can tell from the packaging and the fact that it was sold in this reputable store, they do have copyright, like they've got permission to use the copyright and whatever. It's just interesting. And this is how far I am on this one. Okay. So I've got about 1/4 done. And you can see here sort of the size of the whole thing. But I've only done the Gryffindor quarter because I usually start top left. Yeah, top left. And I think next I'll head down and do this Hufflepuff one here. But it's not the highest quality materials, this kit. You can really tell by how like soft and floppy the fabric is that it's synthetic. It's not just a nice soft Aida, because I do love a soft regular Aida, but this is very synthetic, shiny, slippery. And the same with the flosses actually. They're also synthetic and they're very soft, but they tend to shred more easily, I've found. I'm so bad at keeping my flosses nice, then they're always in a tangle. But yeah, they're just, I don't know, interesting to work with. I don't hate working with them. It's just unusual. I'm not used to it, I guess. So that is that one. Next, this is my Dimensions Christmas Village ornaments. Ooh, I'm holding it over the pattern. And these are just so cute. I love these. So I only started these ones recently. This was, what? June. This month. Last month. It's July today. Alright. And this is my whip. So I've started working on the bakery one. And they actually give you enough space for 6 ornaments on the piece of cloth they give you, which I think is an 18 count ivory Aida. But I've just started on the bakery. And it is very cute. Again, a lot of blends, a lot of like 3 strands, half stitch, that kind of thing. but I'm hoping to get this one done fairly soon, hopefully another week or so, and then I can move on to something else. I just wanted something small, something that I could finish quickly, and I thought, why not work on something for Christmas? It is cold here right now after all, so not that it's cold at Christmas here. And my last whip, lucky last, I only started like last week. And this is, where is the cover photo? There it is. This is another Dimension Star Wars kit, and this is the Darth Vader kit. I really love on this one the way the background is stitched to look like a galaxy. They've done it really well. I love the way they've charted this. And I have the tiniest little start. So all I've done is grid and put in just that many stitches. So that was about an evening's work. 2 nights for gridding, and then on the last night I did that. So yeah, but this metallic floss that I've used to grid is actually another piece that was cannibalized from one of the Up Shop kits, and I believe it was Dimensions metallic floss that comes in sort of 3 strands per thread, and I just separated out the strands from each thread and yeah, gridded with that, and they seem to work really well. You can't pierce them, they're not, you know, able to be, at the end I'll be able to pull them out, they won't be stitched through. So yeah, I'm really liking using that, because that's my big gripe with the black fabric. I normally grid my work, but normally with a fabric marker, not with thread, because it takes so long. It does take a long time. But yeah, that's been really helpful for counting. But yeah, like I said, I like to grid. My issue is, here's my issue. This Kirby piece, you would have seen my grid has turned brown. So I've got 2 types of fabric pens, and one type is this like dark blue, it's like a navy cap, and it goes on as a dark blue, but I've found that with sun exposure it turns brown like this, sorry, itchy eye, and then it just doesn't wash out, and I absolutely hate those. I don't use them anymore, obviously, because I don't want brown marks on my cross stitch. The other kind that I have used is the kind that I've used to grid my other works, like this Over the Garden Wall pattern, and it's an aqua color. So that's still blue, it hasn't turned brown, and this has been in storage for like 2 years. So these ones wash out with like as soon as they touch water. It doesn't need to be hot water, it can be cold water. They're just really water soluble, and I love those ones so much more, but it was really hard for me to find them. I could only find them at Daiso, which is like a Japanese $2 shop, or what do you call them in America? Not $2 shop, something else. But yeah, in Australia we call them a $2 shop. And yeah, I could only, Dollarama? Is that one? I don't know. Anyway, I could only find them there, and then they stopped selling them at Daiso, and I couldn't find them anywhere, but I actually managed to import some from Japan through a seller on eBay who would ship to Australia. So they're awesome. I really, really like those. I'll see if I can find the brand, and I'll leave a link in the description. But they were great. I really, really love those. All right. And last thing I'm going to do, because that's all my whips, is actually show you a bonus whip, which is not cross stitch, but you're just going to have to look at it anyway, because I think it's really cute. So this is one that I started February 2022 when I had COVID and I was stuck inside, and I bought it off a lady on my local Facebook marketplace, and she brought it around, and it is a froggy duffel bag. How cute is that? So it was all printed on this piece of fabric. It's got all the instructions, and all the pieces were printed on it, and you cut them out and just sew together a froggy duffel bag. So cute. Now I don't have a sewing machine, so I've been hand sewing the whole thing, which I don't really mind. And so far I have 2 front legs, 1 back leg, and I've started working on the handle. which involved getting my partner's mum to drop off some iron-on interfacing because I didn't have any and I wasn't allowed to leave the house to go get any. But it's so cute. I can't wait for that to be done. I thought it would be done in a week. I had a week of ISO and I was like, yeah, it'll be done in a week. No worries. Like, it's just hand stitching. It won't take that long. Absolutely not. It took me so long, but I'm still working on it. That's okay. So that's all my WIPs. Now, I'm just going to quickly go through some of my future plans for cross stitch and what I want to do. So, first thing, oh, zipper noise. I'm just going to zip down here so you can't hear it as much. Okay. Is the Last Dimension Star Wars pattern that I bought, which is Luke and Leia. And I feel like this is the most popular one that I've seen. I've seen this stitched up a lot more than the other two, probably because Luke and Leia are in it, and also all the supporting characters in the background, but I just think it's so cute. I like the city in the background. This one's going to have the most full stitches, I think, and it's going to take the longest of all three. But I'm only going to start that once I've finished the other two, maybe. That's what I'm telling myself. I'm not going to start it until I finish the other two. And then I've got a couple more kits that I want to start, but I haven't yet. So this one here is a little bit unusual for me, probably not for everyone else on Flosstube. But this is the Riolis Starry Night kit. And this one's unusual because it's a wool acrylic blend, and I've never stitched with a wool acrylic blend before. So I don't know if you can see if it will focus. Hello? Maybe not. But it's really fluffy. Like, it's just so fluffy. You can see all that fluff at the top there because it is a wool acrylic blend. So I don't know, we'll have to see how it goes stitching with it. Right now I'm a little bit unsure if I'll like that, but hopefully it's something that I enjoy and I enjoy stitching with. Normally I'm the type of person who goes over my project at the end with a pair of tweezers to sort of groom out any, you know, pet hairs or any like loose threads that might be sticking out, and I just kind of go over the whole thing like that. So I'm unsure if I'll like stitching with this, but we'll try. And then the last sort of pieces that I wanted to do, I mean, I've got a million pieces that I want to do, but the last things that are on my plans for sort of this year are, I've got a big folder of patterns, but I'm just going to show you on here. These patterns by Studio and Stitch-True. I might not be saying that right. So the ones I've bought from here are these cowboy animals that are so cute. I love them so much. And these cottages here. So I bought the pack of all 6 cottages. So I'm probably going to start with the cowboy animals. I just think they're so cute. Look at them. The only thing I think I'm going to change is this Raven Crow. His background only comes up to his legs, whereas most of the other ones have backgrounds that sort of go midway. So I might use the same cloud pattern and just reverse it and use that behind the crow as well, just so that he also has like a background that comes to sort of midway. And then this bee doesn't have a background at all. So I'm thinking of stitching him on, I've got a sky blue 18 count Aida that's sort of opalescent. So I'm thinking of stitching him on that, but he would be the only one on a colored fabric. Now the rest of them I don't think I can do on colored fabric because a lot of them actually have, see this white around the sheriff badge? That isn't stitched. That's actually negative space. From what I can tell anyway. I'm pretty sure I checked the pattern and it's not stitched. And same with down here. You can see that the holes and all this white around the spur is actually negative space, which is cool. I like the way it looks. I like the way it sort of blends with the fabric and it looks, but I am not so sold that it will look that good on a colored fabric. I'll either have to go back through and stitch in the white so that you get the contrast between the white and the sheriff badge, or I will have to leave it the same color as the background fabric, and I just don't think that will give the contrast that I want. So yeah, I'm still deciding what to do with that. But like I said, I'm fairly certain, I'm gonna actually check the pattern, I've got the pattern in front of me now. I'm fairly certain that it is negative space. I actually got these printed at my local print shop, but I only got them printed in black and white because I printed a lot of patterns. There was a lot of pages. Yeah, so they're not stitched, it's just blank space. But it's cute. It's cute and I love them. There's a lot of really cute patterns on this website that they make. You can also purchase the finished cross stitches. I love the opossums. I think that they're really sweet. We don't get possums like that in Australia. Our possums look very different, so I really like those. So yeah, and then I also want to stitch these 2 Zelda patterns from Make It Pink, but these ones are absolutely huge and there's a lot of detail that goes into them, like I said. So they are only going to be after I have finished my Japanese garden. I want to aim to only have one big project going at a time. To me, that's a big project. I'll never be like a heaven and earth design stitcher. I'll never be able to stitch anything like that, I don't think, because I don't think it will hold my attention. Stitching something that big. I don't think I'm built for patterns that last that long. Don't mind me downloading the pictures of my cats to put on at the start of this video. So yeah, those are my future plans at the moment. And that's all I have to really talk about. I think in the next video I might do a finish parade and walk through all of the finishes that I've had. I've only been cross stitching for a couple years, maybe 3 or 4. So I don't have the most finishes, but I do have a few and I'll go through what I can. Like I said, I only sort of started getting into the kits fairly recently after that Japanese garden kit. So most of my finishes, or all my finishes prior to that, are not kits. They're all purchased patterns or patterns that I've found on Reddit that people have self-drafted and made available. A couple of perler bead patterns that I've converted to cross stitch with obviously the permission of the original artist, which is something I really like to do. If you find perler bead patterns, you can always reach out to the artist and see if they're okay with you cross stitching their work, and if they are, I find it really nice to then give them the conversion I've used to DMC, because a lot of the perler bead artists that I follow will also sell them as cross-stitch patterns, but if they haven't had time to convert them to DMC, because a lot of them don't cross-stitch themselves, they just sell them as patterns, then I can sort of do that for them, which is nice to be able to do in return for being able to stitch their work. So that's always something nice that I like to do. So there were some Simpsons patterns that I've done that I like to share, but I sort of have to go back and gather up all of the details about all of that because I wasn't writing anything down, and a lot of them I've actually gifted, so I'll need to get photos, gather everything up before I can actually sit down and do a finishes video. But yeah, so I think the next thing I'll do is a finish parade, and then from there we will see how we go. I don't have the most time in the world to stitch, so like I said, did I say? I work full-time and stitching isn't my only hobby. I do other things as well, so I stitch when I can. Usually I'll get enough time for a couple of hours a week, but that's it. So they're not going to be super regular updates, otherwise I won't have anything to show you at all. But I'll do the best I can, like I say. So that is everything from me today. Thank you for watching. If you sat through the whole thing, thank you very much. Really excited to be part of this community and see where it takes me. So thank you again.